You're listening to Infinite TBR, the podcast where we try not to buy more books. I'm Smack.
And I'm Gabby. Spoiler alert! We're going to avoid major spoilers, and when we can, warn when we're going to discuss a particular book in detail so you can avoid that part of the episode. You can also check the show notes for time-stamped flags identifying potential spoilers.
Welcome to our split-off episode where we decided that this deserved its own special. This is
we are
Smack's
carving out my experience and setting it aside from the rest of the episodes because, God, it's a life detour.
That's what these are like. They're like detours from our actual reading
and this whole experience was a detour from the rest of what I usually read. Good books!
This was Smack's experience reading The Elder Races by Thea Harrison, which she has described as her Green Creek. So, here you go. Jesse.
Oh my god. Okay. This is gonna be a journey. So,
this is The Elder Races by...
I can't remember her name. Thea Harrison.
And just so you know, what we're about to get into, Smack has described this as her, I was about to say Greenbone Saga, not that. Green Creek Saga.
Yes. The gay werewolves that we spent two entire bonus episodes letting Gabby rant about. So I am not going to take 2 episodes.
You say that now.
I know.
I didn't plan to take 2 episodes and talk about Green Creek.
I just let you talk. Although, to be fair, if I do take 2 episodes, I read like 5 novels and 3 novellas or so. Actually, let me count. Okay. Okay, so I read 4 novels and 4 novellas in this like 13-book series.
Hang on. I see you're like ready to go. Green Creek was 4 novels, 3 novellas.
You know what? The Elder Races felt so much longer while I was reading them. So, I've mentioned I got sick like in the fall of 2022, and I spent 2 months.
The dead-eyed stare you got? You were like, how long?
It's a long time. And I was so out of it during that time that the only thing I could stomach was like mediocre paranormal romances. That was the only thing that I could wrap my head around. So I read The Elder Races and I read Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match.
Oh yeah.
And the Elder Races books, the first one, okay. Also, spoilers.
Oh yeah.
All of the Elder Race, for all of the first 4 Elder Races novels and novellas. So that takes us through to anyone who's looking at the list of titles, through Oracle's Moon and Hunter's Season. These fucking books, man. The first one was by far the worst. The first one...
I like how the first one was the worst and you managed to...
And I kept going! I kept going. Literally the entire time I was reading these, I was like, why am I still reading? I could stop, but why would I stop? You know,
I guess
I'm just
maybe
going.
It would have been worse for you if they'd gotten worse. So maybe it's best
Yes.
the first one was
So the
worst.
first one, I don't know. I genuinely don't know why I read the second one. The first one. Okay. So the first one is, most of these books are like very alpha males and they're all shapeshifters. And in the first one, the love interest is this dragon. And he's the only dragon shifter in the whole world. And he was like born with the Big Bang. And he's super rich and super powerful. And the whole premise is that the main character steals from his dragon's hoard. And she's blackmailed into doing it. And so she feels really terrible. So she takes a penny. And then she also leaves a penny, like it's a gas station or something. So... But she still stole from a dragon's hoard, and so he tracks her down, and they turn out to be like fated mates.
Wait, so if she put in a penny when she took a penny, what was to stop her from just giving the blackmailer her penny in the first place?
She did give it to him. That was the whole thing, is that like, not the penny she left. Like, she was blackmailed into sneaking into the dragon's hoard and stealing something and giving it to the blackmailer.
But why not just give?
He didn't care what he got. He didn't specify.
But how would he know?
He didn't. And
So why not
in
just
the
be
first,
like, oh, yeah, I
and
in the first, oh, yeah, I broke into the dragon's lair.
when she
Here's a
passes over the penny, she has this moment of like, I could have faked all of this. I could have faked all of this, and he would never know. What have I done?
Incredible.
Which is like so clearly
that's
like,
such a bad writing cop out.
But it was also like really funny.
It's a world with dragons. Surely you can also have magic and be like, I'll be watching you.
Right?
No.
Something. But no.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where it starts.
Okay.
Oh my god. And so, okay, this is actually like less funny. The whole story ends with them getting together, the dragon and the main character.
No unfortunate power imbalance there.
So many. Oh my god. And so like it was this weird thing where like she was trying to be not unfeminist, but have like a hyper masculine, hyper controlling love interest.
So feminism stage 1.
Sort of,
Yeah.
where like the main character was like, I shouldn't love this, but I totally do. And so like whatever, it's one book. But then it
until it's 4 books.
until it's 4. But like in the climax, she discovers she's pregnant.
With Dragon's baby?
With Dragon's baby. And freaks out because A, she doesn't know if she has an IUD.
Oops.
So she doesn't know if he did something magical to like impregnate her to like keep her close.
Also, it's very dangerous to be pregnant while you're
Yes. Yes, there's also that. So she freaks out and runs to a clinic.
Good. PSA, if you find out you're pregnant while you're on an IUD,
Call
also
a
freak
doctor.
out and go to a clinic, okay?
Yes. Got a lot of those PSAs going.
We care about our
I
listeners.
We want you to have this very basic information. Okay, so she goes to this clinic and they call it a clinic over and over and over. Like she's going to an abortion clinic because she has an IUD and she clearly doesn't trust the love interest.
Sure.
And then it turns out she gets there and she doesn't want an abortion. She wants to make sure the baby is safe with her IUD. And so it was like the tension in
like
that.
Take the IUD out?
Yes.
Okay.
And the tension in her running off to see a doctor was that like the assumption was that she's getting an abortion. And then she gets there and she does quote unquote the right thing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Bad.
It gets
bad.
worse.
Oh no.
So like that
I'm amazed you did not rage quit it.
I was
this
so
point.
sick, Gabby.
I'm so sorry. There.
I was so out of it. Where I was like, all right, whatever.
Right.
And then also, this was like 4 months after the Dobbs decision.
Oh no. Oh no. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so it hit a different way this year than it would have last year. Or I guess 2021. It is now 2023, obviously.
Ah!
Okay,
What year is it?
So we get to the point and she's like, I'm not having an abortion. I want the baby. And you're like, all right, whatever. Fine. It's fine. You're allowed to make a choice. That's the point.
Yep.
And then she gets kidnapped by the bad guys and taken to Fairyland, basically. And then she escapes and she's running away. And as the love interest and his like lieutenants come to rescue her, she gets shot with an arrow and it almost kills her. And the fetus saves her life.
What?
Because
magic dragon fetus?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Magic dragon fetus who has been sending her dreams about like, oh, I love you, mommy.
Oh no.
Like detaches, I guess, because there's still one being. She's pregnant. And the dragon baby fetus creature, let's call him Peanut. She calls him Peanut. Detaches his magic from her and uses his magic to try to save her life while she's dying. And then the love interest / father swoops in and is like, you've done enough, son. I'll take over from here. And literally, if she had had an abortion, she would have died. That's what it comes down to.
Oh no.
I know. So not having an abortion saved her life. I hate our world so much sometimes. And then I kept reading.
What?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But they do get better. Couldn't get worse. Couldn't
Don't
get
say
worse.
that. Yes,
I
it
know.
could.
It could have, but it would have been hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that one is called Dragonbound. That's the first book. The second one is called Storm's Heart. What?
Oh, never mind. Sorry. I got these mixed up with a different series. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
no, not these. Okay, we're good.
Okay, so Storm's Heart is... So the books go through... They start with the dragon, and then they go through his lieutenants. And the second one is a Thunderbird shifter.
Okay.
And this dark fae woman who had been like the dragon's main PR person, and then it turns out she's a long lost dark fae princess.
Of course she is.
And one of the things that happens is in the first book her identity is revealed, and she's like, all right, I guess I have to go like claim the throne because we killed my uncle. Oh yeah, he was the bad guy. That's what happened.
Oh.
Yeah. So the dragon killed her uncle, and she's like, I guess I have to go take over.
Dang it!
And there was some well-constructed political intrigue within the court and within the shifter/fae relations.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this really weird racial thing happening with the Thunderbird.
Oh no.
Because in the first book, it's implied that he's like a Native American shifter. But in the second book, it gets a little more confused where he predates the Egyptian pyramids, but like I think he's from Egypt, but he's not black. So there was this whole weird racial thing that wasn't addressed very well.
Yikes.
I don't want to say it wasn't addressed at all, because she thought she was trying, at least. I don't know if that was a full attempt. So that was the weirdness in the second book. One of the things I enjoyed about the second book is that, like, the third act, the first and second act is the main character and the love interest, the Thunderbird shifter, getting together.
Sure.
And then the third act is them acting as a team against these political assassination machination stuff.
Sure.
Which I kind
Good
of,
for them.
yeah, like I enjoy seeing more than just the main characters getting together, but like seeing them perform as a team. Yeah, not just as a couple, but as like a unified front.
Right.
I enjoyed that part. This one, they had some weird physics going on.
Okay.
So she was 5 feet flat, and he was like 6'5".
Okay.
So like there'd be those weird things where like she puts her head on his shoulder, but they're both standing. And like when they have sex, the physics got even weirder.
Oh no.
Because like they were on this couch and she was wearing heels
On the couch.
on the couch. Well, they started against the wall.
Why are her heels still on? They're inside, right?
Yes.
Kick off your heels.
Because she
so
was.
that she can lean her head on his shoulder?
No, that was post sex.
Oh.
I mean, like.
But were her heels still?
I don't know. There was just some weird, like, 1.5 foot difference is a lot.
It's a
and
tall
I
head.
don't. Did you ever see that Conehead movie from the 90s? I think it might have just been called Coneheads.
Oblio? Oh.
No. Like, I think it was called Coneheads.
Oh, then no, I'm thinking of. There's a, like, I don't even know what it is, but we talk about, I don't know if it was a movie or an audiobook or a book that was turned into an audiobook, but it also has songs.
What?
And it was about a group of people whose heads are shaped like triangles.
Our listeners cannot see the gestures we're making.
I'm giving myself a triangle.
You have
on my
to use your
head.
words.
But Oblius, who I think is the name of the main character. See, I get this really confused because it comes up in our family a lot.
So you have like this. Okay.
But things get muddled because my dad, for example, calls my older brother Oblius just because a lot. But I'm pretty sure that is the name of the main character in this show. And there's a song about that follows a tear into the ocean where a whale decomposes.
What?
And then it becomes like it's a whole circular song. Anyway, we sing that song a lot in my family. But
This
anyway,
is such a weird window into your family life.
Anyway, the group of people have triangles on their heads, but Oblius has like a human head, so he's kind of like ostracized by the the thing, and then it's all about his journey to learn about how like we can all be different and it's fine.
This is what I was talking about.
I don't know how to spell obelius, so I can't even find what
You can spell
talking about.
conehead very
Okay, yes.
easily.
I know, yeah.
This is what I was
didn't-
talking
yeah,
about.
I did not see this. I don't know anything about this.
It is a 1993 movie where they put some like prosthetic cone on these people's heads and they have no hair. Anyway, I have no idea why we're talking about cone heads. Oh yeah, physics.
Oh, yeah. 15 inch.
So, just weird physics. And I don't think the author had any idea how big a difference 1.5 feet is when
The point. It's called The Point.
with obelius.
My thing is called
Okay.
The Point. And it is... Nope. I'm so sorry.
Anyway, book 3.
It's a movie. It is Oblio is the name.
Oblio.
Who was
okay.
voiced by Ringo Starr. Fun fact.
No. Okay. All right. Book 3
Book 3!
is called Serpent's Kiss. And this one I both really enjoyed and have some serious problems with.
What a fun
like-
combination of things.
I know! That's why I kept reading.
Yeah.
So what I really enjoyed, the main couple, the guy is a griffin shifter.
Cool.
And the woman is, I think she's the oldest vampire in the world.
Good for her.
I know, right? And she has been a badass for thousands of years and like sort of empire that she has built and then sort of handed off to her oldest fledgling.
Fledglings. I don't know why that amuses me as like a vampire thing. That's very cute.
So the first person she turned into a vampire in like the Roman Empire, and she has less interest in ruling everyone, so she let him take over, and she lives on this magic island most of the time.
Amazing. Good retirement plan.
Right? Off the San Francisco Bay.
Okay. Is it
Um,
Alcatraz?
No, it's in the ocean, the other side of the bay.
Okay.
Outside of the bay. And the thing with vampires is that once they hit a certain age, they sort of lose interest in everything.
Ennui.
Basically, like a lot though.
Oh, geez.
To the point where like eventually they stop drinking blood. The sun doesn't bother them anymore, but like they don't go out, and eventually they just keel over, I guess.
Huh. They lose their will to live.
Yeah, basically. And so the main vampire, I can't remember what her name is. Carson or something? Carling. And then in the middle of all this, while they're like dying, they lose control of their powers, and so it's not safe to be around them.
What makes it unsafe to be around
Like
them?
they're erratic and they hurt people and they don't know
Okay.
where or when they are.
Gotcha.
So this one starts where the vampire queen Carling is basically on this island with one last fledgling, this woman who just is completely devoted to her and is only like 100 years old or something, quote unquote only. And
Baby.
and then the griffin shifter shows up for some reason, and turns out they're fated mates.
Of course.
This whole everybody is a fated mate.
Now that she has ennui and is...
Yes, and is dying, and now she needs a reason to live.
Mm.
The downside being that if she dies, then he follows. Like if
Wow,
your fated
rude.
mate dies, then you also die.
That's a raw deal.
Yes.
Also really puts the pressure on to not die.
Right. Yes, that's the whole
So much guilt.
whole part of the book.
I guess you're
is
dead,
Giving
so-
her a reason to live. And so the cool part that I enjoyed is that they find out that she has these fugue spells where she just sort of disappears into herself, and then because he's a griffin, it's got something to do with like liminality, and I don't know. Anyway, when she goes into these fugue states, he can follow her into her mind. And it turns out that he is actually time traveling to whatever era that she is dreaming about. And he can affect the world around him and change shit. Yeah.
That
Which-
sounds interesting.
Right? Doesn't that sound cool?
Now I'm mad.
I'm so mad. And then he meets her in ancient Egypt. She started out as a slave in ancient Egypt. I can't even remember if this woman is described as black, but somehow I don't think so. Because that's what these books are like. So she sees him the first time because he changes this. He goes back in time and she sees him in his griffin form when she's like 9 or 11 or something.
Right. And now
And
suddenly
is-
things have changed.
And yeah, and this is pre, she knows she's vampires, pre her becoming like a concubine of the pharaoh and rising through the ranks or whatever.
Mhm.
But basically, the more times he goes back to see her, the more he falls in love with her and the more she falls in love with him, prior to actually meeting him in like the original timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So what ends up happening is that he changes things so that her reason to live is to meet him in the future instead of her own intrinsic desire to live and become powerful. So she becomes powerful so that she
To
can
meet
meet
him.
him. Yes.
Ooh.
Her entire
Ooh.
multi-thousand-year existence revolves around waiting for this guy.
No.
I know.
No.
And he didn't even like her the first couple of times they met. So she's been waiting for thousands of years. They meet, and she has to be silent as he's an asshole to her.
Oh, no.
And
no.
they took this cool concept and turned it into this absolutely nonsense storyline.
That's so sad.
And it's such a disappointment. Because I really enjoyed the time travel stuff.
Yeah.
And it was very cool while it was happening. And I
love
was like,
time
yay,
travel
book 3!
and
This is worth reading until.
I was so sure it was going to turn into a, like, we have to, like, find a way to wipe your memory. Otherwise,
Oh, that would have been way better.
Things are going to get messed up, and we'll just, this will work. We know it'll work itself out eventually, so see you when I see you.
Yeah. Nope.
Bad.
Yep.
Bad.
Very disappointing. And then, oh my god, also. Okay, so there's a vampire book that predates Dracula that was written by a woman and is like a lesbian vampire story. And it's sort of a romance, but it's also like...
What's it called for our readers out there?
Carmilla by a French person.
That's their name. A French.
J. Sheridan Le Fanu.
Flawless.
Right, thank you. That's 2 years of high school French coming to play.
That's no years of high school French ballet.
So, I mean, is this a person?
Is this a person?
I meant a woman. Okay, so it was written by a guy. I thought it was written by a woman, which explains a lot, actually.
That kind of thing.
It's a very good book. It predates Dracula, which is cool.
Sure.
Lady vampire,
Yeah.
greater than, not equal to Dracula.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
In
Why did this come up? Is this the fourth book?
No, this is the third book.
Oh, this is still the third book.
This is still the third book.
Okay.
So in Carmilla, the vampire Carmilla sort of schemes her way into staying in a castle in the middle of what I think might be Germany-ish.
Cool.
Around there somewhere. Not France.
Not France.
And she stays with this widower and his very innocent bloom of youth daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And seduces the daughter almost to the evil side. And then this vampire hunter comes along and explains what's happening, and all the men go out and they stake Carmilla.
The main character. Oh no, this is Carmilla.
Yes.
Okay.
This
yeah,
is
sorry.
Carmilla.
Yeah.
Not Thea Harrison. Not the elder races.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's this very doomed lesbian love
Okay.
type thing. And the single servant / fledgling that stays with Carling, who's completely devoted to her.
The devoted 100-year-old
Yes.
baby.
At some point in the story, the Griffin shifter boots this vampire fledgling off the island because she's being too obsessive, and she's so needy emotionally that Carling can't keep up with that and stay sane at the same time. So the Griffin boots this vampire girl off the island, and she goes to the guy who took over Carling's empire.
Okay.
And then she also goes to this council of supernatural creatures who are the ultimate arbiters of justice in the supernatural world.
Sure.
And she says Carling is losing her mind. She's too strong and too dangerous to be left in her current state. She has to be put down. And so after Carling and...
So maybe not so devoted after all.
it's very much a thing of if you can't have her, no one can. To the point that once Carling and the Griffin go off and maneuver this cure for her aging, everything is perfect. They saved, and then the Council of Supernatural Creatures and her oldest fledgling, who's in charge of the Empire, and this crazy woman, who is basically Carmilla, show up to execute Carling after everything's fine. And so they have to quickly prove that it's fine. And they do. And then this woman pulls out a sword and stabs it through Carling, and she dies. Carling dies. And the Griffin shifter has this absolute like meltdown in the course of like a second and a half. And he goes back in time again and undoes her getting stabbed. Yeah. Like a very last ditch, the time travel powers are disappearing. This is your last chance or you're both gonna die.
Right.
So like there's this admittedly cool part.
Dang it.
I know. where he does go back in time and he's in two places at once where he was originally talking to the dragon shifter who shows up again. And
Hey, bud.
he's talking to the dragon shifter, and after he goes back in time, he blocks the sword and then shoves it through the vampire girl's chest and kills her instead.
Sure.
So this very cool moment where a couple of the characters, the dragon shifter, but not Carling, are like, wait a minute. Something else is going on here. Maybe I shouldn't be so angry to kill them all. But like, I just love that shit where there are one character's in two places at once and not everyone notices. Love that shit. But it was, I can't tell if the author did this weird Carmilla thing on purpose or if it was just lazy lesbian tropes.
Right.
Because the queer rep in these books is suboptimal. The first queer person who shows up in the first book, fair enough, he is a hyper feminine.
Oh no. A caricature.
Yeah, he's a caricature of a gay guy in New York who is the dragon shifter's mate. He buys clothes. He's a personal shopper. That's what it's called. And she doesn't want clothes and she's like very low key, whatever. So instead of clothes, she sends him out with the typical black credit card, whatever it is. And instead of clothes, like the dragon intended for her to buy, she tells the gay guy to stock up every food kitchen in the state of New York. And he is so pissed, even though he's paid by the hour. Like,
oh dear.
He's so pissed he doesn't get to buy clothes.
Oh
anyway,
dear.
So that's the first queer rep.
Great. Killing it.
And then this Carmilla thing, I have gone back and forth on this for months, and I cannot decide if it was intentional and bad.
Which is worse.
I don't know. Or unintentional.
And bad.
Which makes it slightly less bad. Because, like, if it was intentional, like, you did it badly.
Right.
If it was unintentional, you got lucky and mimicked badly a classic literature story. Which is worse? I don't know. Let's see here. Oh, and then we get a novella.
Oh, this is the first novella.
Oh, I gave it 1 star. Okay.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. Okay.
But for scale, what did you give each of the first 3 books?
Oh, that's a good question. That is an excellent question. I didn't rate the first book.
A safe choice.
I gave the second book 3 stars.
Okay.
The one with the Fae and the Thunderbird shifter.
Right.
I gave the Griffin and the Vampire 3 stars.
Okay.
And then the first novella got 1 star.
Tell me more.
It was so bad. It was just a badly written, boring. One of the dragon's other, like a lieutenant of his lieutenant. Some wolf shifter.
Military hierarchy.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Cop-ish. But not a cop, but like is...
Right.
Anyway.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And a school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So the premise was interesting. The school teacher is like a chameleon shifter and...
Like literally turns into a chameleon?
Mm-hmm.
Like
a little... She's a school teacher. She's very cute and keeps to herself.
Adorable.
And there was some like thing that happened and the people were slaughtering chameleon shifters for one reason or another. And now they're a very teeny tiny, not paranoid, but like very careful community. The novella is appropriately titled True Colors.
Amazing.
Which is probably the best part about it. It had an interesting premise. This woman, she lives in New York. She has a very small group of chameleon friends. And one of them dies in an accident. And then another dies by murder. And then so she gets together with a third one to be like, what do we do? And the third one is murdered while she's hiding in the closet. So it turns out there's a serial killer of chameleon shifters. And there's some weird like spell. It turns out to be a chameleon shifter who's doing the killings. And that's how he finds everyone. And then the love interest is this hyper masculine wolf shifter who like is hunting the serial killer and falls in love with the school teacher on the way. And it was just boring. Serial killers should not be boring, but it was. So that was the first novella. The fourth book is called Oracle's Moon, and it is a djinn and an oracle. Surprise. So the oracle in the third book helped the griffin shifter and the vampire like solve their time travel problem.
Okay.
So that's where they're introduced. And the
face journey for this whole thing is very funny to me.
I'm glad you're enjoying that. So
Is this how it was watching me lose it over Green?
probably. Probably. It would have been worse if this was like fresh. This is I've had 4 months to recuperate. Okay, so the fourth book, Oracle's Moon, is basically the main character, whose name I don't know anymore.
Cassandra.
Grace. You would think. That would be too much though. So Grace is like a descendant of the Oracle of Delphi.
Okay.
And her family, like, there's always a woman born, and there's always at least one person who inherits the same power that goes down the line. And her sister dies. Her older sister, who's married, 2 kids, totally settled, very capable oracle, dies in a car crash.
Didn't see that coming.
This like, it's terrible.
I know.
It's really bad.
So...
So this 22-year-old whatever, who's like halfway, probably 20-year-old, she's halfway through college. Suddenly she's saddled with 2 kids. She doesn't have any money. The house is in disrepair.
And she suddenly has these powers.
And she has these powers she doesn't know how to use really. And there's always been this element of like it uses you instead. Right. But like you don't get paid for being the oracle, and she's broke basically. Right. And then this djinn sort of waltzes in, and the whole thing is that the djinn as a community are like hyper protective, super protective of children. They think children are a blessing, blah 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 blah. And so he gets really attached to these kids, and she ends up, I don't remember what it is, but like he starts as a glorified babysitter, but then like shit happens and he's a protector. Okay. And then they fall in love in the meantime. And it was actually like one of the better of these 4 books, craft wise. Okay. There was a very weird sex scene. Ooh. Because he doesn't necessarily need a body. Okay. Stay with me, okay? Okay. So he levitates her. And then there are hands everywhere.
Oh no.
Like weird amounts of hands.
Non-standard.
Very non-standard number of hands. And it was just like the rest of the book was fairly well written, and this was just like
what if there were hands?
Like I see the impulse, because it was very clearly set up that he doesn't necessarily need a body. He's not human, right, etc. And so like obviously this is the obvious sex choice, but like it was weird. It was just weird. Oh my god.
Amazing. And then there were 3 more novellas.
Oh my god, yeah.
Was there more to the 4th book?
I mean, like the 4th, was
hands the thing that did it for you, and you're finally like, no, I can't do this anymore.
The rest of the one was like decently normal for a paranormal romance. Right. Yeah, it was okay. It was just the fucking hands. Alright. The next one, the novella called Natural Evil. Oh, Natural Evil got 4 stars.
Whoa! How many did you give the 4th book?
I don't know. Let's find out. 3.
Okay.
3 stars. So like book 1 didn't get rated.
We're not talking about book
1. Books 2, 3, and 4 got 3 stars.
First novella got 1.
Oh, the first novella was awful.
But the second novella got 4?
Yeah, you wouldn't like the second novella because it's like bittersweet. It's a thing where like none of the characters are related to any of the other characters who have shown up so far in the series. And so like every novel, the main character has a not insignificant part in the previous novel. And then the novella, like, the love interest is related to this other character who has showed up in the main books.
Okay.
So, like, it sort of makes sense. But for the second novella called Natural Evil, all of the characters are completely new.
Okay.
And basically what ends up happening is this woman who was some hotshot soldier but has no family and very few friends. She comes back from war and her parents die. They will her some money in a car. And so she just sort of like is a modern nomad. She just drives and goes places and has no one to call home to, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And she's perfectly satisfied with this life. But on a drive through a desert somewhere, she sees a dog that has been hit by a car and is like dying on the side of the road. She gets out. It's way too big to be a dog. Turns out to be like a wolf shifter, I think.
Oh, okay.
Or like some wild dog shifter. And it's not that he's been hit by a car. He's been like tortured. So she gets him into her car, finds a vet, is very like, don't tell anyone about this because he's clearly got enemies type thing. But she's a very capable woman and she knows her way around a gun, blah, blah, blah. And it was decent.
Okay.
And the part that I really liked was the ending, in that he falls in love with her and he's a shapeshifter who lives hundreds and hundreds of years. But she's
a normal human.
She's 40s.
Bummer, yo.
Yeah, so she's not even like barely legal. Like, they're gonna have maybe 20 years, 30 years together, and then he's gonna die even though he's like a young 20-year-old in shapeshifter years. So like,
he's gonna die?
Yeah, because once your mate dies, you die.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, I liked it because it was bittersweet, because there was like this not a moral choice, but like,
does that happen even if you haven't met them?
No. It's
so.
I mean,
if
like,
he had never met her,
then they
would have
yeah.
lived forever. Maybe
if he had. The mating thing is very weird, because in the first one, it's kind of like, oh, we fell in love, we're mates. Oh, well, this is how it is. And in the second book on, she keeps emphasizing, yes, it's sort of a meeting of minds and bodies and passions, but like, you get to choose. If you choose to commit, I mean, like, if she phrased it as choosing to commit to a person as if you would choose to marry them, like, that would be one thing, but it's more like choosing to fall in love with someone.
Right. So it's also kind of.
It's mostly subconscious, but there's usually a point where you can be like, if you realize what's happening, you can take a step back and like cancel it all out.
If you understand what's happening.
And so what happens? All of the guy shifters recognize what's happening and then choose to like fall in love.
Okay.
So, and like, it's one thing when it's very passionate and like this torrid affair, blah, blah, blah. Their lives are in danger, whatever. But it's another thing when it's this very like, this woman is very reserved. She's got this wry sense of humor, but like, she doesn't have friends. She doesn't have family. She's very alone in the world. And this guy who has all these family ties and who is much younger than her chooses to fall in love with her, despite the fact that it's going to kill him. Which it was
You're right, I would hate this.
You would hate this one. I think I thought that while I was reading it. I was like, oh, I like this guy. You would not like this. And
I see the romantic value in it. Not for me.
Yes. And I think part of why I liked it is because, one, it was well executed, craft-wise. And two, it was so different from the rest of these books.
Right.
That it was
refreshing.
It was very refreshing. So that's why that one got 4 stars. So that's the second novella. They don't get better.
That was the high point.
That was the high point. The third novella is called Devil's Gate, and it is... So there's this coroner who's a Medusa.
Okay, cool.
Who shows up in all the other books, and she, like, does autopsies. And 2.
Oh, dear.
2 stars. My review says this one had such potential, but never really hit it.
Bummer.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, okay, so I remember this. And it did have this great potential. And there's this coroner who does all the autopsies on the dead murdered bodies in the regular novels.
Sure.
And she's a Medusa, and they have this whole lore behind how long your snakes are and, like, the community around being a Medusa. And then the love interest is this vampire lawyer who shows up and is, like, super capable and sort of reserved.
Okay.
And
is it the kind of thing where like eye contact turned to stone?
No, I think it's a snake bite from her hair.
Okay.
That causes like paralysis and then you die.
Sure.
If they want you to.
If they
I feel like The snakes are sort of like
They have to commit.
semi-sentient. So they're not like tentacles, like
Right.
prehensile or
Right.
anything. Like they all have their own little brains and they're all sort of connected to each other and they are connected to you. But like you don't always have full control over them.
Okay.
So like if you're startled, they'll go
I love that.
like the dinosaur. There was a hand gesture in
There
there
was a hand gesture
around your face, like
really
the
about it.
the
Dilophosaurus.
yeah, Jurassic Park dinosaur. Okay, so the Medusa's niece, who's like this big troublemaker, ends up running off to
In a cute adolescent way or in a bad you're a
like
bad
a
guy
like
sort
an
of-
adolescent, like
Okay.
she's too wild for her own good kind of thing. So she runs off to this tent city, and the Medusa, who has this very like not a strained relationship with her sister, but her sister, this girl's mom, is so needy and incapable and just
Also a Medusa or
yes,
Okay.
all three are Medusas. So she's gonna go off after her niece and bring her home again because this has happened before. And then the vampire lawyer is like, "This is a terrible place to go. I will come with you and help," which is like really nice.
Oh, okay.
And they keep like dancing around each other. It's very cute, cutesy.
Okay.
It's not cute. It is cutesy. It could have been cute.
Okay, gotcha.
And it was really nice because she is sort of insecure and very unlike the rest of these go-get-em heroines in the main books. And he, in the main books, is super reserved. But in this one, like, you get to know him. He's very nice and caring and generous with his time. So they go rescue her niece. And it could be good, but it wasn't.
Oh dear.
So that's the third novella.
So what was not good about it?
It was just
Execution?
execution. It was like it was more boring than it should have been.
Bummer.
You know, and things happened really fast at the end, and there was a physical climax, but there was never any emotional payoff,
Right.
which was disappointing because I really liked them both. They're like very different from like the regular books and could have been good. It wasn't.
How do they tell when is the meeting your fated mate like obvious right off the bat? Or how
Not
do you
always.
know?
It's the fated mate is only for shapeshifters,
Okay.
and it's not always obvious off the bat because the griffin shifter was an asshole to the vampire.
Right. Just for funsies.
And his whole thing was that, like, he doesn't believe in mates. He doesn't want his life
Sure.
tied to anyone
Of course.
else's. Which, like, rationally is fine.
Yeah.
But also, like, he's a giant asshole about
Right.
it.
So how do you finally tell?
I mean, it seems sort of like any other romantic realization. You're like, oh, I love this person. Oh, we're mates.
Okay. Gotcha. Very hand wavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super hand wavy. Then the last book.
The last novella?
The last novella.
Okay.
The last novella.
What was it called?
Hunter's Season. And so
This got how many stars?
there's no way it got more than one. 1 star.
Why, Smash?
It was so boring. Oh my god, it had this like great setup. They all have pretty good setups.
Right.
So this one is 2 fae who are part of the court of the short woman from
Right.
the second book.
Yeah.
So one of them, the guy, is the widower of the woman who tried to kill the woman from the second book. There was this whole like
Okay.
attempted assassination, and he's like
Bummer.
not quite their prime minister and didn't know what his wife was doing, and it was like blindsided, and they had such a good relationship, and it wasn't like true love, but like it's a good relationship, good marriage, blah blah blah.
Clearly
blah.
wasn't as good as you thought it was.
I know. And then the woman is one of like the royal guards,
Right.
and therefore of a different social class.
Mm.
He would never look at her, blah blah blah. She's been in love with him forever. And then there's another assassination attempt. He almost dies.
Oh no.
And so they hide him at her house in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
And
Was
she
there only
tends
one
to
bed?
him. Yes. Of course there's only one bed. Although she does sleep on the couch for most of it.
Okay.
Not that it... Anyway.
Anyway.
So they hide him away while he's like recuperating. She tends to him.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just boring.
Oh, that's it.
Just boring. I mean, like,
Okay.
I kept expecting like the assassins to figure out like they're out in
Yeah.
the country, but it like they never showed up at her house to kill anybody. I mean, like they showed up at some point, but by that point, I think I actually just quit 10 pages to the end. I just didn't care.
Amazing.
Just that was it. That was my
And
breaking
that was
point.
it. That's what
That was
it. And then we never read another Elder Races
Oh my god.
book again.
And not the only reason. After these terrible novellas, the next main book goes back to the Dragon Shifter and his mate. And I was like,
nah!
I'm cutting the cord. This is done. I am done. We're not doing any more of this. I was so proud of myself.
I'm so proud of you.
There was a day or two where I was like, I guess I could. No. Don't do it.
There's so many other things in the world to
know.
read.
Oh my god. I
I'm
think
so sorry you went through that.
I mean it kept me occupied for a month and a half. Or
Good.
a month. I don't know.
However long
it was. So that's my Green Creek.
I wonder what our next Green Creek will be.
God, I'm glad to get that off my chest.
Here's hoping.
Here's hoping you never get stuck on a terrible merry-go-round of books. Here's hoping you never read a book where not having an abortion saves the main character's life. Here's hoping...
We're hoping a lot of things for you this episode.
Here's hoping you get a good time travel story with none of this weird dependence or bad novellas. I hope you read good novellas.
Here's hoping you find your own Green Creek, but in a good way.
But in a much better way. Good lord.
This has been another episode of Infinite TBR. You can find us on our Twitter at Infinite TBR.
And we are individually on Twitter as @WhatSmackSaid and @Gabalodon, which is like Megalodon, but Gab in the front of it. And you can find all our show notes at infinitetbr.com. If you have book recommendations for us or questions you want answered during the podcast, feel free to email us at itbrshelf@gmail.com.